I recognize the Leader of His Majesty's Official Opposition.
Thank you, Speaker. Good morning, everybody. Speaker, this question is for the Premier. Nearly 3 months after an election about defending Ontario jobs and our economy, and working people are still waiting for relief, for reassurance and for results from this government. But since the election, all we've seen are thousands of layoffs. Trump targeting our auto jobs. Instead of protecting those jobs, though, we're seeing equipment being moved out of our communities and across the border. And the government's EV strategy is just coming apart in real time. So my question to the Premier is, what are you going to do about it?
Response, I recognize the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade.
You know, Speaker, more importantly is to talk about the fact that over the last years, we have to look at what our opposition has done. They watched as 300,000 manufacturing jobs fled out of Ontario. At that time, there was no once-in-a-generation crisis. There were no tariffs. It was policy designed by the opposition to push those jobs away and crush our goods-producing sector. And now they want us to revert back to their playbook, Speaker, and we refuse to do that. We will not stand idly by as President Trump tries to take our companies and take our jobs. We're going to do everything in the power of a government to keep those jobs here and to keep those companies here in Ontario.
Supplementary, Leader of the Opposition.
This is a moment where you should be applauding yourselves. You know, workers are worried right now, and they're pretty anxious about the future. I mean, look at the folks who are awaiting those jobs in Honda in Alliston. Last month, they were told there was going to be no change in Honda's production. The Premier took the company at their word, and now they've announced a 2-year pause in production, and Honda is saying one thing in Canada and a completely different thing, by the way, in Japan. So how many more job losses and cancelled shifts is it going to take before the Premier actually takes action?
Response, the Minister of Economic Development.
You know, Speaker, the 4,200 men and women who work at the Honda plant will continue to work at the Honda plant in Alliston. The Honda Civic, as an example, is the #1 passenger vehicle sold in Canada, proudly made by those men and women in Alliston. The Premier and I have both spoken personally to the CEO of Honda in Japan. He has reaffirmed their commitment to their operations and their planned expansion in Ontario. Yes, they have taken a pause. There's no question about that. But there's no change to their current employment or production in Alliston. Tariffs are causing chaos and uncertainty worldwide. We're facing a once-in-a-generation challenge from down south, but we are going to continue to do everything to protect the progress that we've made in the auto sector, Speaker.
Final supplementary.
Well, Speaker, I hope he asked that CEO what he meant when he said that they were going to be, in the future, moving those jobs to the United States. Because that's what's being reported. Almost 700,000 people right now in Ontario are unemployed. That's like the population of Hamilton. Right? You say you're protecting Ontario, but you're not protecting Ontarians who are losing their jobs and can't afford their groceries. A recession is coming. This is the time for government to step up. It is not enough to wait and see. So why should workers trust the Premier and this government to hold big companies accountable, like Honda, when they have failed to do so time and time again?
Response, the Minister of Economic Development.
Speaker, President Trump has made it extremely clear. He wants the companies that we've attracted to Ontario, and he wants all of the jobs. We have landed $46 billion in investment here in Ontario. That is just in the auto sector. We have landed $6 billion investment in life sciences. We've landed tens of billions of dollars of investment in the tech sector. Speaker, since we took office, almost 1 million jobs have been created. That is a record here in the province of Ontario. Yes, there are headwinds, and we are fighting them with every tool, and you'll hear more about some of those tools in today's budget, which we hope you'll stand and support.